Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. The real estate commission for a property that is in probate is set by A. The real estate, B. The decedent, C. A court order, D. A probate officer. Answer: C. Commissions for property sold in probate are set by the individual court district. Question 2. The value of the best property in the neighborhood will be adversely affected by the presence of comparatively substandard property, is a statement relating to value and is known as the principle of A. Balance, B. Contribution, C. Regression, D. Progression. Answer: C. The principle of regression states that the worth of a greater valued property is reduced by the proximity of many lesser valued properties of the same type. Question 3. Which of the following types of lenders would have the greatest percentage of and the most funds invested in real estate mortgages? A. Savings and loan associations, B. Commercial banks, C. Life insurance companies, D. Mutual savings banks. Answer: A. Savings and loan associations place a greater percentage of their funds into real estate loans. These loans, namely, are in the single-family dwelling area. As to life insurance companies, they prefer long-term, high-valued commercial properties. Commercial banks, due to the liquidity requirements, prefer short-term loans such as construction loans, although here too, funds are available for the home loan market. Question 4. An addition to land resulting in the formation of a gradual buildup by natural causes. The party who would benefit from this would be A. The landowner, B. The local government, C. The federal government, D. The landowner's neighbor. Answer: A. The question describes accretion, and the land that accretes from a river belongs to the adjoining landowner. Question 5. No prudent person would pay more for a parcel of real property than the price of a reasonably close alternative, which is available without undue delay, refers mass nearly to the principle of A. Balance, B. Conformity, C. Substitution, D. Intervention. Answer: C. The principle of substitution, in essence, states that no prudent person would pay more for a parcel of real property than the price of a reasonably close alternative which is available without undue delay. Question 6. Sam inherited rolling hills from his uncle. The first thing he did with the vacant property was to remove all the topsoil, which he sold to a landscaping company. Sam then removed a thick layer of limestone and sold it to a construction company. Finally, he dug 40 feet into the bedrock and sold it for gravel. When Sam died, he left rolling hills to his daughter, Pat. Which of the following statements is true? A. Pat inherits nothing, because rolling hills no longer exists. B. Pat inherits a large hole in the ground, but it is still rolling hills, down to the center of the earth. C. Pat owns the gravel, limestone, and topsoil, no matter where it is. D. Sam's estate must restore rolling hills to its original condition. Answer: B. Pat inherits exactly what Sam owned just before his death, a location on the Earth's surface, everything below it to the center of the Earth and the space above it toward the heavens. Question 7. A true statement regarding floor waters is that floodwaters A. refer to water in minor depths, either standing or flowing, which do not produce serious surface scour or leave deposits of silt. B. refer to water on the surface of the land but lower than the water table in the area. C. are deemed the enemy of every affected owner, and owner may protect their property by employment any reasonable protective measures. D. Are found below the water table, at the water table, and above the water table. Answer. C. Flood waters, water from a downpour, river overflowing its bank. One may protect himself against such flood by building a dike, or sandbagging, or other methods of diverting the water to other property owners. Question 8. Single-family home values are least protected in neighborhoods where there is a similarity of income of the owners. B. A predominance of residents belonging to the same ethnic or religious group affiliation. C. A minimum of change to existing restrictions as a result of legal restrictions. D. An increasing mixture of average quality homes with high quality homes. Answer. D. In an area where average quality homes are being constructed among high quality homes, there would tend to be a decrease in the overall neighborhood property values. Question 9. The primary justification for zoning ordinances is that they a. Promote conformity in the outward appearances of structures. B. Limit the supply of specific businesses within a zoned area. C. Promote the general health, safety, and welfare of the community. D. Increase the tax base of the local governing body. Answer. C. One of the requirements before a zoning ordinance is considered lawful is that it promotes the general health, safety, and welfare of the community. Question 10. Which of the following actions or events would result in the termination of a sales escrow? A. Revocation of the escrow instructions by the broker of the seller. B. The cancellation of the escrow by either party. C. The mutual consent of the parties. D. The death of either of the parties. Answer. C. Escrow instructions are an agreement between buyer and seller, and cannot be unilaterally cancelled without the consent of the other. Death would not terminate their agreement, but the instructions would be a contract normally binding upon the heirs. Escrow can be terminated by the mutual consent of the parties.
Passing the real estate exam can be hard, like really hard. Statistically, only about 50% of people actually pass the real estate exam on their first try. Those people that pass, they go on to become real estate agents. And the people that didn't pass, they either give up completely or have to try again. Both of these options are painful, disappointing, and upsetting. Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition has been named as the best real estate exam prep by multiple publications for 7 years in a row. If you are about to take the real estate exam, Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition is a no-brainer choice. There is no other real estate exam preparation service out there that comes close. To enjoy the longest membership time, lowest cost, real estate videos, audios, articles, flashcards, vocabulary, exam tips and tricks, a 1-year no questions asked refund policy, and be one of the 35,000 people that it has helped pass the real estate exam, then sign up in less than 5 minutes at www.realestateexamscholar.com.
Question 1. An arrangement made to repay delinquent installments or advances is called A. Repayment plan. B. Settlement plan. C. Debt installment notice. D. Debt division plan. Answer. An arrangement made to repay delinquent installments or advances is simply called a repayment plan. Question 2. The amount of principal that has not yet been repaid is called A. The balance. B. The remaining balance. C. The outstanding note. D. The loan remaining. Answer. B. The remaining balance is the amount of principal that the lendee has not paid yet. Question 3. The process of paying off one loan with the proceeds from a new loan using the same property as security is called A. Refinance transaction. B. Resettlement transaction. C. Redouble transaction. D. Loophole transaction. Answer A. This type of process is known as a refinance transaction. Question 4. This type of deed transfers without warranty whatever interest or title a grantor may have at the time the conveyance is made. A. Quitclaim deed. B. Warranty deed. C. Trust deed. D. Special warranty deed. Answer A. A quitclaim deed transfers without warranty whatever interest or title a grantor may have at the time the conveyance is made. Usually used by family members, divorcing spouses, and people well acquainted with each other. Question 5. The payment change date is A. The date when a new monthly payment amount takes effect on an adjustable rate mortgage or graduated payment mortgage. B. The date when a new monthly payment amount takes effect on an fixed rate mortgage or graduated payment mortgage. C. The date when a new monthly payment amount takes effect on an adjustable rate mortgage or balloon payment mortgage. D. The date when a new monthly payment amount takes effect on an fixed rate mortgage or balloon payment mortgage. Answer A. The date when a new monthly payment amount takes effect on an adjustable rate mortgage or graduated payment mortgage is called the payment change date. Question 6. What is the definition of a note in terms of real estate? A. A legal document requiring a borrower to repay a mortgage loan at a stated interest rate during a specified period of time. B. A legal document requiring a signature by both buyers and sellers that allows for the transfer of real property. C. A legal document requiring a borrower to repay a portion of a mortgage loan at a stated time in a lump sum. D. None of these. Answer A. A note in terms of real estate is a legal document requiring a borrower to repay a mortgage loan at a stated interest rate during a specified period of time. Question 7. The interest rate banks charge to their preferred customers is called A. The prime rate. B. The preferred rate. C. The priority rate. D. The graduated rate. Answer A. The prime rate is the rate the banks charge their preferred customers for loans. Question 8. This is given by a commercial bank or other financial institution for a certain time and certain amount. A. Line of credit. B. Mortgage. C. Note. D. Bank account. Answer A. A bank or other financial institution gives out a line of credit for a certain time period and for a certain amount. Question 9. This limits the amount the interest rate can increase or decrease over the life of the mortgage. A. A life cap. B. An interest limit. C. A mortgage cap. D. A fixed cap. Answer A. A life cap limits the amount of change the interest rate can fluctuate over the life of a mortgage. Question 10. This is a type of ownership where individuals actually own the building or unit they live, but common areas are owned jointly with the other members of the development or association. A. Condominium. B. Planned unit development. C. Planned condominium development. D. Apartment conversion development. Answer B. In a planned unit development, the individuals actually own the building or unit they live in, but the common areas are owned jointly with the other members of the development or association. Question 1. A type of foreclosure proceeding used in some states that is handled as a civil lawsuit and conducted entirely under the auspices of a court is called A. Foreclosure review. B. Judicial foreclosure. C. Civil foreclosure. D. Bench foreclosure. Answer. B. A judicial foreclosure is a type of proceeding in some states that handles foreclosure as a civil lawsuit and is handled entirely by the courts. Question 2. This will cover repairs to certain items like air conditioning or heating during the coverage period. A. Homeowner's warranty. B. Homeowner's insurance. C. Homeowner's deductible. D. Homeowner's claim. Answer. A. A homeowner's warranty will cover repairs to certain items such as major appliances. This type of warranty is loosely regulated and is not required. Question 3. What is the main activity of the FHA? A. Insuring of residential mortgage loans made by private lenders. B. Making loans to individuals while insuring the loan amount. C. Issuing mortgage notes on behalf of lenders. D. Insuring lenders themselves and not loans. Answer. A. The main activity of the FHA is to insure residential mortgage loans made by private lenders. Question 4. One of the indexes used to determine interest rate changes for certain adjustable rate mortgages is called A. COFI. B. C. BAYAS. D. LAFI. Answer. A. The Cost of Funds Index, COFI, is one of the indexes used to determine interest rate changes for certain adjustable rate mortgages. Question 5. A type of multiple ownership where the residents of a multi-unit housing complex own shares in the cooperative corporation that owns the property and gives each resident the right to occupy a specific unit is called A. A union. B. A co-op. C. A group mortgage. D. A timeshare. Answer. B. A co-op, or cooperative is a type of ownership that allows the residents the right to occupy a specific unit based on the owned shares in the cooperative corporation. Question 6. This type of building is operated like a commercial hotel even though each of the units are owned by the individuals. A. Cooperative building. B. Condominium hotel. C. Cooperative hotel. D. Association hotel. Answer. B. In a condominium hotel, the units are owned by each individual but it is operated like a commercial hotel. Question 7. This is used for determining interest rate changes on some adjustable rate mortgages. A. CODI. B. COFI. C. DOFI. D. CONI. Answer. A. A certificate of deposit index, CODI, is used for determining interest rate changes on some adjustable rate mortgages. Question 8. A public official who establishes the value of a property for taxation purposes is called an A. Assessor. B. Investigator. C. Appraiser. D. Collector. Answer. A. An assessor is a public official who establishes the value of a property for taxation purposes. Question 9. Items of value owned by an individual are called A. Assets. B. Real property. C. Interests. D. None of these. Answer. A. Items of value that are owned by an individual are called assets. Question 10. Assets quickly converted to cash are considered A. Liquid. B. Illegal. C. Solid. E. Unified. Answer. Assets that are quickly converted to cash are considered liquid assets. Question 1. When more than one property is placed as security for a note and trust deed, this is called what type of encumbrance? A. Total. B. Blanket. C. Inclusionary. D. Comprehensive. Answer. B. A blanket encumbrance is placed when more than one property is used as security for a not and trust deed. Question 2. If a real estate corporation hires employees for their sales staff, the employees must have A. A license. B. A contract of employment. C. A verbal agreement. D. A bond. Answer. Employees of a real estate corporation that function in a sales capacity must have either a real estate salesperson or broker's license in that state. Question 3. In the event that parties do not comply with the bulk sales law as outlined in the Uniform Commercial Code, the buyer is likely to be A. The most injured. B. The least injured. C. Equally injured as the seller. D. None of these. Answer. A. In the event that a seller does not comply with the bulk sales law, the buyer would be the most injured. The laws allow a creditor to obtain rights to the property to sell and satisfy a debt, but the buyer has no such recourse if a seller does not comply. Question 4. Specializations in the field of real estate include A. Property management, appraisal, financing. B. Appraisal, financing, pest control. C. Property management, water damage restoration, appraisal. D. Financing, home management, appraisal. Answer. A. Property management, appraisal, and financing are all specializations a person can obtain in the field of real estate. The other answers, while ancillary, are not real estate specializations. Question 5. Which of these conditions creates a seller's market? A. The sudden influx of people to an area. B. The rising of property prices due to inflation. C. The addition of several new housing tracts of new homes. D. Neighboring homes selling for above list price. Answer. The sudden influx of people to an area creates higher demand for the existing homes in the area. Since new homes cannot be built fast enough to supply demand, this creates a seller's market. Question 6. In order to make a withdrawal from the broker's trust account, in addition to authorization from the broker, an employee must be A. Licensed. B. Bonded. C. Insured. D. None of these. Answer. B. Anyone under authorization from the broker withdrawing funds from the broker's trust account must be bonded. Question 7. A licensed agent working under John, a broker, withdraws funds from John's broker trust account with John's permission. The agent is licensed but not bonded. This transaction would be A. Illegal. B. Legal. C. Unethical. D. None of these. Answer. A. In order for someone other than the broker to withdraw funds from the broker's trust account, the person must be bonded. Question 8. A title insurance policy protects a lender from prior A. Liens. B. Damage. C. Pest infestation. D. Environmental hazards. Answer. A. A title insurance policy protects a lender by ensuring that the property has no prior liens. If any liens did show up at a later date, the title insurance policy protects the lender and ensures the mortgage is still an enforceable lien. Question 9. What protects a lender ensuring that the mortgage is an enforceable lien? A. Title insurance. B. An acceleration clause. C. Physical inspection. D. Mortgage insurance. Answer. A. Title insurance protects a lender ensuring that the mortgage is an enforceable lien by ensuring there are not prior liens on the subject property. Mortgage insurance protects the lender from default on the loan. Question 10. How does the FHA insure loans? A. Title insurance. B. Mutual mortgage insurance. C. Homeowners insurance. D. Default claims insurance. Answer. B. The FHA insures loans with mutual mortgage insurance. Question 1. If a minority person is looking to purchase a home and the lender refuses to lend to them based on their creditworthiness, this is A. Legal. B. Racial profiling. C. An example of blockbusting. D. Illegal. Answer. A. A lender is not required to lend to any person that does not meet the requirements of creditworthiness. Question 2. When a real estate developer obtains a loan for building a new housing tract and the lender gives part of the funds to the developer and agrees to release the rest of the funds as each home is built, this is called which type of financing? A. Earnest money. B. Fixed amount. C. Obligatory. D. Chronological release. Answer. C. In this type of situation, this financing is called obligatory financing or also called fixed disbursement schedule. Question 3. A reconveyance deed is used in connection with A. A life estate sale. B. A trust deed sale. C. A valid transfer of ownership in any property. D. None of these. Answer. B. A reconveyance deed is used in connection with a trust deed sale by a trustee to a trustor after a loan has been paid in full. Question 4. In order to form a valid contract, which is not necessary? A. Performance. B. Consideration. C. Offer. D. Acceptance. Answer. A. Even though an offer has been placed, the offer accepted, and consideration put forth, there is no guarantee that either party will perform the obligations of the contract. Performance is not a necessary part of forming a contract. Question 5. In regards to contracts, if part of a contract is written and another part is printed, which part takes preference? A. The typed part. B. The written part. C. None. Contracts must be typed. D. They are both equal. Answer. B. If part of a contract is written and another part is typed, the written part takes preference over printed parts. Question 6. If a contract is written and parts are incomplete or ambiguous, what type of agreement takes preference? A. An oral agreement. B. A new typed agreement. C. A new written agreement. D. None of these. Answer. In this case, if a contract is written or typed but is ambiguous or incomplete, an oral agreement then takes preference. This is true only if the original contract is ambiguous or incomplete. Question 7. If a person wishes to obtain a chattel mortgage, they would need to put up A. Personal property as collateral. B. Another property as collateral. C. Any type of property as collateral. D. None of these. Answer. A. A chattel mortgage is a mortgage that is secured by personal property. Question 8. A real estate broker is typically considered A. An agent or fiduciary of the principal. B. An attorney in fact. C. To have the power of attorney. D. None of these. Answer. A. A real estate broker is typically considered an agent or fiduciary of the principal. A broker does not have power of attorney unless the principal grants him/her that right. Question 9. If a broker notifies a seller, of whom the broker is working with by means of listing, of a prospective buyer, this creates what to entitle the broker to a commission. A. Procuring cause. B. Prior notice. C. Fiduciary relationship. D. Accelerated notice. Answer. A. If a broker notifies a seller of the identity of a prospective buyer of a listed property of a client the broker is working with, this constitutes procuring cause. If the seller were to then go to the prospective buyer later without the broker's knowledge and make a deal, the broker would still get the commission due because the broker was the procurement source of the buyer. Question 10. The bulk sales law is included in A. The habendum clause. B. The caveat emptor clause. C. The Uniform Commercial Code. D. The governing laws of commerce. Answer. C. The Uniform Commercial Code includes the bulk sales law. Bulk sales laws are intended to prevent business owners from defrauding or evading creditors by transferring all, or a substantial portion, of the assets of the business to another individual or entity. The law is also intended to avert the possibility of businesses selling their assets below fair market value in a sweetheart sale, in which the owner of the business manages to maintain a degree of control. Question 1. If Steve J. Carlisle offers to purchase a house from the Jeffersons for $723,000 and a closing scheduled for August 7, and the Jeffersons sign a written acceptance with a provision that closing be executed on August 8, what can happen at this point now? A. Steve can back out of purchasing the house without a penalty. B. Steve can hold the Jeffersons to an August 7 closing. C. Steve can sue for specific performance on August 8. D. None of these. Answer. A. Since the Jeffersons made a counteroffer, it constitutes a rejection of the original offer. Therefore, Steve can either accept the new offer or reject it without penalty. Question 2. An agent knows a person that wishes to sell their existing property to purchase another more expensive property listed through another brokerage. What is the agency relationship to all parties involved? A. The known person is the agent's customer, no relationship exists between the seller of the more expensive property. B. The seller of the more expensive property is the client, the agent is in dual agency with both clients. C. The agent's known person is the client, the seller of the more expensive property is the customer. D. The agent is a dual agent to all parties. Answer. C. Under the laws of agency, in this particular situation, the known person is the client, and the seller of the other property is the customer of the agent. All parties are entitled to fair treatment. Question 3. Jeremy is a salesperson at a local real estate firm. He is required to submit to a dress code, attend meetings, and perform marketing tasks for the firm. He is paid in bi-weekly paychecks that have federal, state, and local taxes withheld. In this type of situation, the relationship with the firm is most likely that of A. An independent contractor. B. An employee. C. A contractor for hire. D. A manager. Answer. B. This type of situation that requires a person to perform tasks in a specific way for an organization is typical of an employer-employee relationship. Therefore, Jeremy is most likely an employee of the firm. Question 4. A violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act could be: A. Competing brokers discussing fees and business practices. B. A broker discussing fees with an agent. C. An agent buying stock in the firm they are under contract with. D. None of these. Answer. A. Any discussion between competitors could be seen as an attempt to conspire to set the cost of real estate brokerage services, which is in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Question 5. What happens if the principal is incapacitated or suffers death according to the laws of agency? A. Any contracts in place are cancelled. B. All dates are extended to allow time for processing. C. The agency is terminated. D. None of these. Answer. C. Upon death or incapacitation of a principal, the agency is terminated by operation of law. Question 6. What does a planned development consist of? A. Lots owned in common. B. Individual lots. C. Both individual lots and lots owned in common. D. None of these. Answer. C. A planned development includes both lots owned in common and lots owned individually. Question 7. If a home is located in an area that is zoned for commercial use, the home will have minimum value because of what principle? A. The principle of diminished returns. B. The principle of nonconformity. C. The principle of conformity. D. The principle of delegated zoning. Answer. C. The principle of conformity states that for a property to retain value, it should be in an area that consists of like-type properties. Question 8. If a tenant in a commercial building pays a rental fee that includes all property maintenance charges, utilities, and cleaning services, this type of lease is called: A. Performance lease. B. Net lease. C. Pro rata lease. D. Gross lease. Answer. B. A net lease is one that includes rent and operating expenses in the rental price. Question 9. In appraising unique properties, which approach is best for determining value? A. B. Cost. C. Gross. D. Comparative. Answer. B. The cost approach is the preferred method when appraising unique properties. Question 10. Of the properties listed, which is considered the most unique and would use the cost approach method of appraisal? A. A piece of land. B. A condominium. C. A historic building. D. A farm. Answer. C. Of the answers given, a historical building is the most unique type of building and would therefore use the preferred appraisal method of the cost approach. Question 1. Under FHA standards, the minimum ceiling height for a single-family residential construction is: A. 7.5 feet. B. 8 feet. C. 8.5 feet. D. 9 feet. Answer. A. Although most ceiling heights are 8 feet, the FHA minimum requirement is 7.5 feet. Question 2. Real estate assets are usually acquired by using A. The results of long-term and short-term gains. B. The supply and demand of equity capital. C. Equity funds and money market funds. D. Debt funds and equity funds. Answer: D. There are mutual funds and real estate investment trusts that do acquire real estate assets, either debt assets, mortgage assets, or equity assets, ownership assets. Question 3. From a historical standpoint, the major function, objective and aim of the FHA program has been provided by A. Title I. B. Title II. C. Title III. D. Title IV. Answer: B. The largest and most important activity of FHA is the insurance, under Title II, of mortgages for home purchase and construction. Question 4. Examples of negotiable instruments are as follows, except A. A mortgage secured by a promissory note. B. A draft. C. A check. D. An installment note. Answer: A. The note is negotiable but not the mortgage. Question 5. A form that is usually prepared to allow a real estate licensee to act as an agent for all principal parties to the transaction involved is A. An agreement of sale. B. An exchange agreement. C. A loan broker statement. D. A real property security statement. Answer: B. Under an exchange agreement, the real estate licensee acts for both parties. This is one instance where he could earn a commission from each party to the transaction. Question 6. The hiring of a specialist in property management would be justified by A. Absentee ownership. B. Technological advances in building concepts. C. Vacancy factor higher than normal. D. Urbanization. Answer: A. In absentee ownership, the owner lives away from the property and is not able to adequately supervise it. Question 7. Which of the following is not one of the four important elements of value? A. Scarcity. B. Appreciation. C. Utility. D. Transferability. Answer: B. The four elements of value are utility, scarcity, demand, and transferability. Question 8. Madison is a mortgage loan broker. When setting up a loan, Madison differs from Carter, a mortgage banker, in which of the following ways? A. Carter is authorized by law to make larger loans than Madison. B. Madison is exempt from the Finance Code. C. Madison does not normally use his own funds in arranging a loan. D. Carter deals primarily in loans which must be recorded. Madison's loans are normally not recorded. Answer: C. A mortgage loan broker normally does not loan his own funds, but negotiates the placement or sale of a loan with a particular lender. A mortgage banker generally has the funds with which to make a loan. Question 9. The following are correct statements concerning an option, except A. The optioner must perform if the optionee exercises his option within the period specified. B. The optionee must perform if the optioner exercises his option within the period specified. C. To exercise the option, the buyer must pay the amount specified in the option. D. The consideration for granting the option must be actual. Answer: B. The question is a negative question asking for a false statement concerning options. Answer 2 states, The optionee must perform, which is false. The optionee receives and the optioner must perform. The optionee is the one who exercises the option. Answers 1, 3, and 4 are all correct. Regarding answer 2, there must be some consideration. It may be money or an act. In a lease option, it often states that there is the option to purchase the property for $100,000. The consideration is the leasing of the property. The leasing of the property is sufficient consideration upon the part of the optionee. An option must contain all the terms of the purchase similar to a deposit receipt. At the time of exercise, all that the optionee must do is state, "I will buy according to the option terms." Question 10. The provision that states the realtor shall not publicly disparage the business practice of a competitor appears in the A. Real estate law. B. Commissioner's Rules and Regulations. C. NAR Code of Ethics. D. Business and Professions Codes. Answer. C. This provision appears in the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics. Question 1. A salesperson receives an offer from a buyer who has no cash but offers a deposit of $500 in the form of personal note payable in 30 days. A. This is unacceptable since a deposit must be in cash or a check. B. The form of deposit is immaterial as long as the $500 figure appears on the deposit receipt. C. A salesperson may accept a personal note as deposit if he advises the seller of this prior to acceptance. D. A salesperson may accept a note if made in favor of the broker to handle expenses. Answer. C. It is perfectly all right for the salesperson to accept a personal note as a deposit, but this must be disclosed to the seller before the acceptance of the offer. Question 2. Collecting rents, fixing up the property and showing vacant units are the types of responsibilities that would be assumed by A. A broker. B. A resident property manager. C. A salesman. D. An attorney at law. Answer. B. These are the types of things that a resident property manager does. Question 3. A person who has been given the right to act on behalf of another is known as A. Affiant. B. Attorney in fact. C. Executor. D. Principal. Answer. B. The power of attorney is the piece of paper and the one with the right to act is the attorney in fact. Question 4. A prudent lender would take into consideration which of the following before issuing a loan? A. Borrower's ability to pay. B. The market value of the property that is the security for the loan. C. Current economic trends. D. All of the above. Answer. D. The lender would consider all aspects of the loan as mentioned in choices 1, 2, and 3. Question 5. Which of the following represents a gross misrepresentation by an agent? A. His representation is an obvious falsehood. B. His representation is made with a knowledge of the falsehood. C. His representation caused the aggrieved party to enter into the contract. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of these are examples of gross misrepresentation by an agent. Question 6. The relationship between effective and nominal interest is that A. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is named in the loan application. B. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is named in the advertising. C. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is specified in the note. D. There is no difference. Answer. C. Effective rate is the actual interest rate paid by the borrower. Nominal rate is the interest rate specified in the note. Question 7. In assessing the profitability of a real estate office, the broker must consider desk cost. Which best describes how to calculate desk cost? A. Calculate the cost of all the desks. B. Calculate the gross profit for the office, less the expenses, divide by the number of desks. C. Divide the total cost of rent, utilities and advertising by the number of desks. D. Divide the total operating expenses of the office, including salaries, rent, insurance, etc., by the number of desks. Answer. D. Desk cost is the total cost of operating expenses of an office divided by the number of desks in the real estate office. Question 8. Under some loans covered under the Federal Truth in Lending Law, the borrower has a right to rescind the loan. The right to rescind is A. 3 days. B. 5 days. C. 10 days. D. 14 days. Answer. A. On loans where the personal residence is used as security, other than the first trust deed used to purchase the property, the borrower has 3 days to rescind. Question 9. A property is not listed for sale. A person who wants the property executes an offer to purchase it through a real estate agent and gives the broker a $5,000 check as a deposit. The broker A. Can accept the check on behalf of the property owner provided he presents the offer directly to the seller as the seller's agent. B. Cannot accept the check. C. Can accept the check as the exclusive agent of the buyer. D. None of the above. Answer. C. You can accept the check as exclusive agent for the buyer, but you have no listing with the seller. Question 10. The economic life of an improvement as compared to the physical life is usually A. Longer. B. Shorter. C. The same. D. Depends on the type of improvement. Answer. D. Most houses are torn down before they fall down. When a house cannot be used for rental income or residential purposes, it no longer has any economic worth and is generally torn down. Question 1. Which of the following best describes a complete escrow? A. It is considered a perfect escrow. B. The escrow holder has ceased being an agent for both parties. C. All papers are properly drawn up and ready for final steps to be taken to close the escrow. D. All services of the escrow holder are involved. Answer. C. The settlement in choice C describes a complete escrow. Usually an escrow is complete in the evening and closes the following morning when the deed is recorded. Question 2. When a legal description uses only sections, townships and ranges, the lines relate to the A. Government survey lines. B. Contour lines. C. Recorded tract map. D. Meets and bounds descriptions. Answer. A. Sections, townships and ranges are used in government surveys in describing the location of land. Meets and bounds description outlines a certain area. Question 3. A lender would be exempt from the requirement of providing the borrower with a federal right to rescind notice except A. If the loan is for more than $25,000 and is not secured by the borrower's personal residence. B. If security for the loan is commercial property.
C. If the loan is for business expansion.
D. If the borrower is refinancing. Answer. D. A negative question. Refinancing your personal residence is not an exemption and is fully covered by a 3-day right of rescission. Question 4. Fisk owns a lot. He also owns a right-of-way easement over the property of his neighbor, Smith. This easement is appurtenant to Fisk's lot. Fisk sells his lot to Jones without specific mention of the easement in the deed. The easement A. remains with Fish as an encumbered interest. B. passes to Jones. C. terminates unless it is a covenant running with the land. D. reverts to Smith. Answer B. Appurtenant easements run with the land and automatically pass to future grantees, whether mentioned in the deed or not. Question 5. Which of the following would normally install conduit? A. plumbers. B. electricians. C. roofers. D. carpenters. Answer B. Electrical wiring is placed inside a metal pipe called a conduit. Question 6. Two people entered into a land contract for the purchase of a home and the contract was recorded. A few months later, the vendee abandons the property and defaults on the contract. If the vendee refuses to execute and record some form of release, it will A. not affect the marketability of the property. B. result in a deficiency judgment. C. result in a trustee's sale. D. create a cloud on the title. Answer D. A recorded land contract show an equitable interest in the property. When the vendee, buyer, defaults and abandons the property, the land contract becomes a cloud on the title until it is removed by either a quitclaim deed or a quiet title action. Question 7. A broker who is hired by an owner to sell his property must reveal all significant and material information to the principal. Which of the following would be considered material information and must be revealed? A. The new lender will require the buyer to maintain an impound account. B. Agent's knowledge that a better offer to purchase is imminent. C. The prospective buyer is of Oriental descent. D. None of the above. Answer B. The existence of a better offer that is imminent could very well be a material fact to the seller. It would probably influence his decision on a present offer. Question 8. Generally, the most important determinant of a property's value is A. age. B. utility. C. location. D. income. Answer C. Location is the most important factor influencing value, the other factors being utility, size, shape, thoroughfare conditions, exposure, character of the business climate, plottage or assemblage, character of the soil, grades, obsolescence, building restrictions and zones. Question 9. Real property includes the land, those things attached to the land, and thing called appurtenances. Appurtenances include all of the following except A. a dwelling. B. trade fixtures. C. watercourses. D. a fence. Answer B. Trade fixtures are considered personal property. Question 10. How many acres are in the west half of the south half of the south half of the south half of section 27? A. 20 acres. B. 40 acres. C. 80 acres. D. 160 acres. Answer B. Section 27 equals 640 acres. S half equals 320 acres. S half equals 160 acres. S half equals 80 acres. W half equals 40 acres. Question 1. Restrictive covenants included in deeds for all properties within a subdivision can dictate A. The architectural style of the structures. B. The ethnicity of prospective owners. C. The gender of future tenants. D. None of the above. Answer. A. Restrictive covenants cannot violate any existing laws, and are therefore illegal if they do. The ethnicity and gender of any prospective occupant is protected under federal law. A restrictive covenant can dictate the architectural style. Question 2. If Mary really wants to purchase John's house, and tells John's agent that she is willing to pay $560,000 for it instead of the list price of $540,000, John's agent should A. Tell John because Mary told him not to offer that amount unless it is needed. B. Tell Mary that she will need to submit the proper paperwork for such an offer. C. Tell John. As John's agent, there is a duty of notice due to John and no confidentiality due to Mary. D. Take the listing off of the MLS. Answer. C. Even though Mary deserves honest and fair treatment, there is no duty entitled to Mary by John's agent. John's agent is bound by a duty of notice to John. Question 3. If a person dies that owns this type of estate, the ownership of that person automatically terminates. A. An estate in reversion. B. An accretion estate. C. A life estate. D. A lease pendens estate. Answer. C. Upon the death of a life tenant, the ownership in the life estate terminates. In addition, a life estate may be based on the lifespan of a third party. Question 4. In which of these circumstances is title to real property conveyed voluntarily? A. Eminent domain. B. Tax deed. C. A will. D. A certificate of title. Answer. C. A will is the only choice here that conveys title to real property voluntarily. The other choices, tax deed, certificate of title, and eminent domain convey titles to real property involuntarily. Question 5. A tenant looking to lease a property during a period of high inflation would most likely want to have a lease based on A. The cost of living index. B. The consumer price index. C. A tiered payment structure. D. A fixed rate. Answer. D. The tenant would most benefit from a lease that was based on a fixed rate during inflationary times. If the property manager based it on any of the other answers, the property manager could raise the rent as the market dictates. Question 6. As a buyer in a cooperative apartment, you will not receive A. A lease. B. Shares in the organization. C. A deed. D. None of these. Answer. C. A co-op apartment is personal property, not real property or real estate, and therefore no deed is given. Question 7. In order to have a legal and valid agency relationship, which of these is required? A. A valid real estate license. B. A passing of consideration. C. The passage of at least 48 hours. D. Mutual consent. Answer. D. Mutual consent is the only necessary option of the choices given to establish agency. The other choices are not part of the agency establishment. Question 8. A real estate agent should disclose any environmental hazards or conditions that could have an effect on the property except in which case? A. When there is no need to disclose a hazard because the prospective buyers are from the area and already know what happens there. B. When there is a posted notice on the property. C. When another agent has already spoken to them about the environmental hazards of the property. D. None of the above. Answer, D. An agent has a liability to disclose any environmental conditions that could affect the property or the buyer's intended use. The safest bet is to always disclose, even if you think that you can get away with not doing so. Question 9. A contract for deed is best described as when A. Property purchased on an installment plan. B. A written contract for a future purchase transfer. C. An oral agreement in which the owner sells the property to a tenant for a negotiated installment price. D. None of these. Answer. A. The best answer is property purchased on an installment plan. However, this also would include the seller holding title to the property for at least 1 year after the date of sale. Question 10. In a loan closing, without the proper signature on the note, this is not created. A. Indebtedness. B. A deed. C. A contract. D. An estate. Answer. A. The signature on the note must be proper and valid to create the debt between the borrower and the lender.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.